What's up, everyone? In today's video, I'm going to be showing you a game I played where I blundered my queen, but still somehow managed to win. So my opponent started off with e4, and I moved to e5. I then developed my knight to c6, and my opponent developed his bishop to e3. I developed my knight to f6. My opponent developed his bishop to e2. And I developed my bishop to d6, allowing me to later castle. My opponent then developed his knight to d2, and I tried to pin his knight. I knew he could have easily kicked it, and that's what I wanted. So after he made this move, I slid the bishop back, and I wanted him to begin pushing to attack the bishop. I then could have moved the bishop to b6, and then maybe he would most likely trade, or I could trade. Either of those would have been beneficial for me, because I could have either opened up this line or forced his pawn to move into this double formation here, and that's normally not wanted. But he instead just moved out his queen. I castled, and he did the same on the opposite side of the board. So now we're in this interesting situation with our kings on opposite sides. Normally when you castle queenside, you want to have a knight on c3 to protect the pawn. But he didn't have it in this case, so I decided to open up the bishop here and hopefully get that done myself, or take it myself. He was smart, and he moved his queen over to b1 to protect. I began moving my knights back, which is not very good in a chess game, but I didn't feel like I was in the best position. I had very little space on the board to move, and that wasn't a good thing. I then tried to clear up some space by making trades, and I was actually just cramping my pieces in more. Alright, so right here, I made this move. I really liked how I would have this diagonal on his rook. Also knew that if he wanted to move his knight to, say, h3, I could have forked the rooks at some point. I didn't really realistically think that was going to happen. My opponent was very skilled, and he definitely would not have fallen for that. This bishop right here was making me nervous. I knew that the castle had a line on the queen, so I wanted to move the queen as soon as possible. I was right. He did move his bishop, and it did check the king. So I was thinking at this point, maybe I'll just get a bishop out of it. When I tried to make that move, though, I couldn't. His queen was guarding it. So not only was I gonna lose my queen, but I wouldn't even get the bishop. So make the trade, and and right here, he brought in his knight to protect his bishop, and I moved my pawn up to g6, stopping my opponent's bishop from ever being able to leave. He then tried to break it out, and this is here. He forked both of my rooks, so that things aren't going as planned. I then moved my rook to take his bishop at least, and he still had the option to take either one. For some reason, he decided to move his pawn up, and this allowed me to check and take his knight. I feel like if he had right here, if he had taken one of the bishop or one of the rooks, or at least freed his bishop, I feel like he would have had a strong chance of winning. He was playing a strong game up to this point, and I really think he would have won. But here now, I had him in a good position. So out of that, I ended up with an extra knight and bishop, while I was supposed to be losing a rook. So this turned out really well. Sorry. Okay, next. Alright, so here, I obviously saw that he was going to take the rook. What I was thinking is if I moved my castle here, I would have been able to move my bishop in and fork his queen and king. It actually worked. Normally when you're up in a game, you get overconfident and you make moves too quickly. I've done that a lot, and I noticed that I normally play better when I'm down, because you're more careful. You think about it more, and he took the bishop just to I'll give it the best possible outcome. We traded pawns here, and I actually did lose my bishop from this fork, so he's still pulling off some pretty good moves. Next, I wanted to put some pressure on his knight, and we had this sequence where I'm just chasing his knight around. He actually managed to take 2 of my pawns, and he was getting closer to being back in this game. I started moving my knights towards this pawn. I already had a castle pinning it, and that was the next objective for me. I did get lucky here. He did blunder his knight. Normally what I see when you have your knights lined up like this, they cover a lot of area. So they cover this square, and then here, here, and here, and then they also here. So I'm just going to cover all these in red. So the knights in this formation cover serious amount of territory. Like, they cover this entire area, so of course they're gonna blunder at some point, and that's why I don't. It makes me nervous whenever I see knights in that formation. And then I then was able to take the pawn, and then I was gonna try to promote this pawn here to a queen to make it a lot easier when finishing the game. My opponent and I started talking, and he said since I had more pieces than him, he would resign. And he was actually a really nice chess player. And then he resigned, and that was the game. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to go check out our second channel. It's called Number One Reactions. It's a reaction channel, and we talk about many different topics there. And if you have any video ideas, a comment would be very appreciated. And before we go, I just wanted to show you how I was planning on checkmating him. So I was thinking of a knight here. This would pin the king from being able to move to any squares, as all of these would be covered. So with the knight here, he would have moved his castle here most likely, and then I would have just been able to move my knight here, ending the game.